We have overcast conditions here today, quite a heavy atmosphere, and that should enable the ball to swing around quite a bit. And you had a look at the pitch a little earlier, Jim. How was it?
Well, Richie, with the recent poor weather, the pitch is looking damp. It will be slow and low and frustrating to bat on, especially with the sluggish outfield, so the batsmen will need to get their heads down and work hard. The bowlers should keep the ball up to the bat, as anything short will be easy to hit. Not the ideal pitch, but it should provide an interesting contest. A tough call, perhaps a good toss to lose. Well, that's the state of the pitch. Back to you, Richie.
Cairns to bowl the first over of the innings. That was an athletic stop by the keeper. Great take by the wicketkeeper. Hit straight to a fielder. The score is now no wicket for 2. Super wicket keeping. It's straight at Giles. It's high in the air. That's the first boundary for Fleming.
New Zealand will be looking to take full advantage of the early fielding restrictions by scoring some quick runs.
Caddick to begin a new spell. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. They have 49 overs to get, 345. Astle is now on strike. It's straight at night. Caddick to bowl to Astle. That's straight up in the air. That's the first boundary for Astle. The score is now no wicket for 9. Caddick to bowl to Astle.
Wait.
The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over.
Wait.
Hit straight at Thorpe. Looked as if he was home to me. Fleming, facing. Astle, facing.
There's a perfect example of how to play that shot. He deserved 4 runs for it. Out, here's on him. Lovely catch. Great pair of hands. Astle goes for mine. The next batsman is Sinclair.
Gough takes the first wicket of the innings. Fleming waiting at the striker's end. Run rate has dropped up to around 7 and over. They have 47 overs to get 333. New Zealand have taken their total on to 1 for 17. Sinclair resisted playing the hook shot.
That was a lazy shot. He'll regret that when he sees the replay.
1 for 18. Caddick to Sinclair. The score is now 1 for 19. That's gone high in the air. That's the first boundary for Sinclair. So they need 326 to win from 279 balls. So they need 326 to win from 278 balls. Sinclair facing. Brilliantly caught.
For those of you watching at home, that's a good example of how to take a catch.
Sinclair goes for only 4.
Well, he didn't get many out there.
Vincent is the next batsman in. Caddick gets his first wicket. New Zealand with 2 down now for 23. fielder's not going to cut that off. That's the first boundary for Vincent. 11 runs were picked up from that over by Caddick. The run rate stands at just under 6.5 and over. The score is now 2 for 27. Gough to bowl to Fleming. He looked as if he was home to me. The total is now 2 for 28. Gough to Fleming. That is an excellent catch.
That was an important catch. He did very well to hang on.
Fleming has gone for 7. McMillan awaits his first ball. McMillan is off the mark. That's the end of the 5th over. Caddick to begin a new over. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. They have 45 overs to get 320. .320 runs required. Caddick continues. Hit straight to a fielder. New Zealand have taken their total on to 3 for 29. Caddick to McMillan. So they need 320 to win from 265 balls. .44 overs are left in the innings. Gough to begin a new over. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. That's a big appeal. He's out. McMillan goes for 2.
He doesn't look too happy with that decision.
The next man in is Cairns. New Zealand, 4 down now for 31. So they need 318 to win from 262 balls. That's run away for 4. That's the first boundary for Cairns. The score is now 4 for 35. Gough at the start of his run-up. .313 runs required. .43 overs are left for New Zealand. We're about to see the first bowling change. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. It's in the air. He's timing the ball perfectly today.
He'll have enjoyed that one. It was 4 the moment it left his bat.
There it goes. Vincent moves into double figures with those runs. So they need 304 to win from 256 balls. New Zealand are 4 for 46. That's 9 off the over now. It's been a rather expensive over so far. There it goes. That was a very confident shot.
He played that with a lovely straight bat. He'll be pleased.
The 50 is up for New Zealand. What a superb catch that is. That flew off the edge, but he managed to get a hand to it, and it stuck. Vincent makes his way back to the dressing room. The next batsman in is the right-handed McMillan. Hoggard gets his first wicket. New Zealand are 5 down now for 50. .42 overs are left for New Zealand. Gough to Cairns. Now the run rate stands at just over 7 and over. Didn't quite get hold of that one properly. Very close to the stumps. 299 runs required. He's worked that into the gap, stopped by Thorpe. .299 runs required. Gough to Cairns. So they need 299 to win from 248 balls. Well played, but the fielder will cut that one off. There's a mix-up with the batsman. They can't afford to go throwing away wickets. A very good over. Only one offered in the end. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. That's too short, and it's been dispatched for 4. Cairns moves into double figures with those runs. The total is now 5 for 56. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. Hit straight at Thorpe. Super wicket keeping. So they need 291 to win from 242 balls. Hoggard to Nevin. That was a testing bouncer by Hoggard.
He looks really fired up today. That was certainly a very quick delivery.
291 runs required. That's the end of the 10th over. Gough to begin a new over. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. Gough to Cairns. Nevin is now on strike. Gough continues. That's cleared the boundaries. 6 runs. That went a long way back into the stands.
The bowler doesn't look too happy about it. There might be a little bit more in the next one.
284 runs required. Gough to bowl to Nevin. Stopped by Caddick. Hoggard to begin a new over. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. Knight is not going to reach that. Cairns really punishes anything short.
That was good cricket from the batsman. He placed it, didn't try to hit it too hard.
Played into the gap. Nevin waiting at the striker's end. New Zealand have taken their total on to 5 for 70. Gough to begin a new over. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. Played into the gap. Thorpe out there in the deep. Gough to Nevin. Hit straight at Caddick. That's straight up in the air. That went a long way back into the stands.
It doesn't really matter if it goes in the air if you hit it that far.
.37 overs are left in the innings. Hoggard to begin a new over. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. That's too short. 4 runs. Cairns has now moved into the 20s. The total is now 5 for 82. .36 overs are left for New Zealand. Gough to begin a new over. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. Gough at the start of his run-up. Straight to a fielder. That must be close. Not at that one. Really disappointed. Looking more and more out of reach here. I'm perfectly legal. They'll get some runs anyway. That takes him into double figures. Flintoff reaches it before it crosses the boundary. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. New Zealand move on to 86. Four all the way. That was four the moment it left his bat.
Lovely front foot shot. Head over the ball, wrists in front of the bat as he played through the line.
So they need 259 to win from 206 balls. Hoggard is back in the attack. Hoggard is back in the attack. The batsman will have to run these. Eight runs came from that over for New Zealand. We're about to see a change in the bowling. The run rate stands at just under 7.5 and over. Didn't quite get hold of that one properly. He's got it into the gap. Caddick at the start of his run-up. He was beaten all ends up by that one. Nevin was completely beaten by that one.
Great bowling there, perhaps a bit of extra pace, and it went straight through him.
Nevin makes his way back to the dressing room. Adams comes in at number 8. That's the first runs of the day for Adams, fielded in the deep by Trescothick. Hoggard to begin a new over. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. Super wicket keeping. That's too short, and it's been dispatched before. That's the first boundary for Adams. Hoggard to bowl to Adams. Well played, but the fielder will cut that one off. Hoggard to Cairns. Caddick to begin a new over. The required run rate has crept up to around 7.5 and over. There it goes. That was 6 all the way.
He hardly seemed to hit it, but it's gone for 6.
That's over the rope. 6 runs off Caddick. That nearly joined us up here in the commentary box.
What an effortless shot. Brilliant.
The score is now 6 for 113. That's gone high in the air, safely taken by Thorpe.
That went up miles. It had snow on it by the time it came down.
Adams goes for 18.
That was a vital wicket, and now the tail is exposed.
The next man in is Harris. Harris is off the mark. New Zealand have taken their total on to 7 for 114. That's straight up in the air. He responded that in a flash.
It's tough for the bowlers on a pitch like this, as there really is no margin for error.
17 runs came from that over. Hoggard to begin a new over. The run rate stands at just under 7 and over. Stopped by Caddick. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. Superb shot. You really can't afford to pitch short on this track.
That was a great shot to watch. He just leant into it and stroked it to the boundary for 4.
226 runs required. A long hop and punished. Picked up very early by Cairns.
That was a poor ball, and it got the treatment it deserved.
The score is now 7 for 127. That's 10 off the over now. This over is proving to be quite expensive. That's the end of the 20th over. Caddick to begin a new over. The run rate stands at just under 7 and over. Stopped by White. That was very tight, so the umpire's calling for the TV replay. Seven, now for 129. He's worked that into the gap. The batsmen are after 2. The batsmen will have to run these. He's taken the aerial route there. 4 runs. That's the first boundary for Harris. Cairns waiting at the striker's end. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. That's found the gap in the field. Hoggard to Harris. That's straight up in the air.
Well, he really hit that a long way. Exciting stuff.
7 foot and 43. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. That's gone high in the air. That takes him into double figures. So they need 205 to win from 171 balls. Hoggard to bowl to Cairns. New Zealand are 7 foot 145. Harris facing. There it goes. I certainly saw that one early.
That was beautifully played. He was well over the top of the ball.
The required run rate is around 7 and over. That's found the gap in the field. New Zealand have taken their total on to 7 foot and 50. That's a big hit. It's 6. Oh, bowler won't like that one little bit.
Well, you can't set fields for shots like that. That's brilliant.
So they need 193 to win from 165 balls. Harris facing. Harris has now moved into the 20s. That over eased the pressure on the batting team. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. Now the run rate stands at just over 7 and over. There should be some runs here. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. New Zealand have taken their total on to 7 foot 158. That was an athletic stop by the keeper. Cut away. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. Super wicket keeping. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. There should be some runs here. "26 overs are left in the innings. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. That's gone high in the air. Great job done by the fielder in the deep. They have 26 overs to get 186. Super wicket keeping. 185 runs required. Safely taken by Gough. Lovely catch. She's got a great pair of hands. Harris goes for 28.
He'll be kicking himself about that dismissal. He really didn't play that ball very well.
The next man in is Vettori. Vettori is off the mark. Vettori is now facing. He's got it into the gap. Hoggard bowled the last of his allotted overs. The required run rate is looking more and more out of reach here. Well taken by Stewart. Hoggard at the start of his run-up. It's high in the air. Eight for 169. Cairns seemed to take his eye off that one. Hit straight to a fielder. Hoggard continues. There should be some runs here. The crowd are standing to applaud him. Cairns has scored 50 off 60 balls.
He's done very well out there, but it's important for the team that he keeps going.
Vettori facing. That's gone high in the air. Cairns really takes advantage of anything over pitch.
Well, they don't come much straighter than that. They've got the full face of the bat on it and stroked it past the bowler.
24 overs are left in the innings. Now the run rate stands at just over 7 and over. That's gone high in the air. Safely taken by Hussain.
Well held. It must have stung his hands coming down from that height.
Vettori goes for only 5.
You can see why he bats down the order.
The next batsman is Martin. Martin awaits his first ball. straight up in the air. That's a lovely way to get off the mark. Didn't quite get hold of that one properly. Fielded in the deep by White. Hit straight to a fielder. 23 overs are left for New Zealand. We're about to see a change in the bowling. The required run rate has crept up to around 7 and over. Play it away with comfort. The sweeper picks up. It's in the air. Cairns very quickly onto that one.
He played that shot perfect.
The fielder will cut that off.
The fielder the batsman.
To sum up then, England win by 62 runs. Well, let's take a look at the scorecard. Bowling figures for White, none overs, no wicket for 6.